Hey there YouTube, Heir of Carthage here. Got a couple of online battles to show you. I like to bring up these online games, probably every day or two, and I'll try and bring you Shimazu campaign pretty much every day of the week that I can. I'm also going to upload, I think, probably a Rome Total War video right after this. Just to kind of, while I'm loading up the battle here, let's go to battle replays. Yeah, I just got back from my trip. I've done about 400 miles of driving this weekend, so I'm glad to be back. Let's load up number 19 and 20 here. You can see these were played a couple of days apart. So anyway, you can see my opponent and what map I'm playing on there. A lot of you have been, well, I mean, I say a lot of you. I've had some comments where people were like, "Oh, Heir, just make Rome videos. You know, I'm sick of Shogun." Or some people were like, "Heir, make all Shogun videos." I'm going to do pretty much what I said, which is make one or two non-Shogun videos a week. For those of you who, you know, may be wanting Rome, I mean, I've probably easily got 200 Rome Total War videos up on my channel, and I am going to keep making one every week, like I said. So, and, you know, I just basically, Shogun's new. I love it, and if you look at the response that I'm getting on the game, I'm getting thousands more views than I do in my typical videos. And like I said, I'm not going to quit Rome Total War. I just want to show people what they want at the moment. And right now, for the most part, I'm getting way more response to Shogun because it's new. And so I will make other videos, like I said, but for the most part, I'm going to be putting Shogun up here. Plus, I'm enjoying it. Really, really enjoying it. Alright, let me show you my army and the reason why I decided to show you this battle. This battle's not anything spectacular when it comes to tactics, but it's going to prove a point. I have 3 bow samurai. I have, I think 4 katana samurai, and I have 2 of my experienced, 2 of my experienced Yari Cav units, and then my general Patchy here. Let's see, there's old Patchter right there. The once proud peasant from Austria, now making a bid for the shogunate of Japan through some type of magical time machine. So let's see what my opponent brought. My opponent brought 5 bow samurai. No, 4. Yeah, my opponent brought 4 bow samurai. He's going to immediately wheel up and shoot all of his fire arrows. And this is in an attempt to just try and do a quick knockout blow on my men. It is going to cause me some pretty severe damage. You know, I don't really care. Like, he can use fire arrows on my archers, and it'll give him a little bit of an advantage. But I'm just not all that worried about it. I'm really not. My archers are there to soak up fire anyway. That's their job. As you can see, this guy right here, he was on fire and rolling around on the ground. He is also honored to die for Patchy. Who wouldn't be? So my opponent does have a whole bunch of cavalry, and I'll show you all of it. But right here, he's got 2 Yari Cav and a light cavalry, and his avatars right back here. He's just going to charge my katana samurai. This is a good move on my opponent's part. And you're going to see him accidentally, I mean, just trash right through a couple of my katana samurai units. And one of them actually just routs. So my opponent brought an extremely unbalanced army. Up front, he had 3 units of cav here. And then in the back, he's got 4 more units of Yari Cav. So now that my katana samurai, now that their morale is kind of re-engaging, I'm going to countercharge with my Yari Cav, and that's going to help balance that. And my opponent makes a critical mistake here in the back. He thought that, I think he thought my Yari Ashigaru were facing the other direction. And anyway, here he comes. I'm not really doing a whole lot, but then I form a spear wall at the very last second, so check that out. The very last second I was ready to receive his men, and his charge is just like, you know, a crashing wave breaking on a rock. So his men here, even though they're in the wedge formation, they're not going to be able to collapse through these Yari Ashigaru. It's a big mistake for people to think that you can just blast right through Yari Ashigaru who are prepared for a charge, because you can't. Now, I've showed you before how you can charge Yari Ashigaru and beat them when they're not prepared, but when they are ready to receive a cavalry charge, you are going to get roasted. And you can see there that my opponent just threw away, let's see, 4 units of Yari Cav times 800 Koku. Yeah, that's 3,200 Koku. He just flushed down the crapper right there. And then up front, his Yari Cav charge was effective, but like I said, all I had to do was countercharge it. That slowed his momentum, and now all my opponent has left is his bow samurai. And these bow samurai are quite good, you know, obviously in an archer fight, but they're only mediocre in a melee fight. So now it's just a matter of me having to mop things up, which is not all that difficult. Try and get you a bunch of close-ups here. It's kind of hard to tell which guy is which. Mine have the black mon with the white swan there. My opponent has the red and white mons. So anyway, there's just some nice footage of some up-close fighting. A lot of you want a bunch of close-ups because the game is new. And my opponent is going to try and run away a bunch in order to try and save himself. But, I mean, running away really isn't going to help at this point, because by the time his men turn around to shoot, I'm going to be able to catch up with them. So there's some sweet fighting action going on here with his bow samurai. So my opponent's big mistake was he brought an extremely unbalanced army, and that's pretty much all that did it. And all it takes is one mistake with an unbalanced army, and you're out of luck. And you can see that my balanced army was better prepared to face my opponent. Here he's trying to assassinate Patchy, which I'm going to go ahead and say is pretty dishonorable. You can't assassinate Patchy. In fact, here's Patchy right here fighting for the honor of my clan. I'm not really sure what my clan's name is. Oh, check it out. Patchy just wasted that goon. He says, "Get out of my face." That's right, you don't screw with Patchy. He grew up in the hard life, and he knows how to defend himself. Anyway, this battle's pretty much over. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will bring you the results screen. This battle wasn't much, like I said, for strategy. It's just mainly to show you the dangers of bringing an unbalanced army like my opponent did, and that danger is indicated right here where all of his dead Yari Cav is. Alright, now the second battle replay is very much all about strategy. I haven't ever played on this map yet. It's Numazawa or something like that. I don't really know where to put the inflection. You can see that my opponent here, 7 Sam Bronson. This guy was a 10-star general. 10-star. My guy Patchy is a 5-star, just to give you an indication of how much more time he's spent on this game than me. So this guy has spent at least twice as much time on the game as me. I was looking at the map. If you look at it real quick, in fact I'm going to pause it. I want you to see the whole game, and I don't want to be wasting. If you look at the map, there's this lake here, and there's certain points at which you can cross it. Right here is a ford point, right here, and you can also march around it. And there's 3 strategic buildings on this map. Over here you have the sword dojo, which of course increases your melee attack. You've got the shrine, which increases your morale, and right here you have the workshop, which increases your armor. Now, some of you have been asking me for strategy videos here lately where you're like, Air, how do you decide what to do? Well, the first thing I did when I was on that loading screen and I saw the topo of this map and where I would be deploying, the very first thing I was doing was thinking, where am I going to deploy my army that's going to be most beneficial for me? And knowing that there was 2 ford points, one right here and one right here, you don't want to have to ford the river, because that's going to be an opportunity for your opponent to bottle you up, hit you with arrows, and just really screw you up. So you really don't want to ford the river. So when my troops started right here, and also from what I was thinking in the loading screen, I could tell that this is the area where I want to fight. And if my opponent stays on the other side of the river, then I'm going to try and get him to come to this area. And the reason is there's 2 strategic buildings, and if I can move up here, my opponent isn't really going to want to camp, because he's going to see me capturing 2 strategic buildings, and he's not going to want to let me have both of those, because then it'll increase my morale and my armor. So that's the thinking that goes into my deployment. I could have hidden some Yari Cav and snuck them slowly up on the sides, but to be honest, my opponent probably knows I have Cav, and I didn't really feel like hiding anything. So I'm going to go ahead and push play, show you my army. I'm going to move my Ashigaru up first. I have 2 veteran Ashigaru units, each with 2 chevrons. Nothing real special. One of them is my Satan Spears unit, I think. I've changed my Mon color once again. I think I'm going to be doing a little bit more work on my Mon before I find exactly what I like, but this time I'm sporting the red and black, which is pretty cool. So right there I think I have 5 units of Yari Ashigaru altogether. 2 of them are veteran. I have 3 units of bow samurai. I really like these bow samurai, although bow Ashigaru are quite good as well when used properly. And then I have 4 units. This is something new for me. I haven't used these guys yet, really, at least not much. These are my Nodashi samurai. These guys have a 2-handed sword. They have a brutal charge, but they have very little armor and defense skill. So they're best to get into a melee quick, and you don't want them absorbing archer fire. And then of course, as always, here is Mr. Patchy in his default skin, because CA hasn't patched that for me yet. Come on, CA, please! In any case, I'm moving to capture these 2 buildings. Now my opponent, like I said, he didn't want to let me just have these 2 buildings, and so sure enough I guessed right in my deployment area, because he is going for them also. Now my opponent is a 10-star general, so his units over here are insanely upgraded. This circle right here on the flag indicates the same thing, and you can see the 4 little, or the 5 little flags here, indicates the same thing as 5 chevrons. And then this one with the circle and the chevron, these guys have 6 experienced chevrons. So he has 2 units, this one's a Yari Samurai, this one is another Yari Samurai, so these guys are insanely experienced. And then up front he's got 2 Lone Sword Ashigaru. These guys might be Ashigaru, but with that many upgrades, they're going to be dealing out some damage. And here he's got an experienced Yari Cav unit with 5 chevrons. So my opponent has some extremely upgraded troops. Look at this one. It has a this one's the equivalent of 7 chevrons right here. This Katana Samurai. And then this Katana Samurai has 6 chevrons. These Yari Samurai are his only non-upgraded unit, and then his general has 8 chevrons. So pretty insane. And then he's got a 3 chevron light cavalry there, and then across the river he has a 3 chevron, or no, just a Yari Samurai, just a regular one. So let me explain my strategy here. Strategy was key on this. My opponent brought a rush army. He didn't have any archers, so I have to play the advantage of my archers. So here you can see me moving up aggressively. I need to get shots in on his infantry. My opponent knows that he cannot allow me to get good shots in on his infantry. So check it out right here. I do get some side shots and kill about 20 of these Lone Sword Ashigaru, and my opponent is not going to let me do that for too long. So like I said, I want to take major advantage of this. And here I saw my opponent making an interesting move. He's moving up these Yari Samurai first, which kind of makes sense because they're not the most experienced unit. I go ahead and take some peppering shots at him, but then I turn on my flaming arrows. I'm going to go for a knockout blow on these dudes and get them out of the fight. So here comes my flaming arrows. I'm going to go point blank flame, just absolutely waste on these guys, and then run my bow samurai out of there. I'm now going to put my Yari Ashigaru in spear wall to stop their charge, and then I'm going to put my my Nodashi Samurai have a special ability which is Bonsai, which makes their morale pretty much unwavering, and then I Bonsai them in, and that's going to pretty much halt the advance of my opponent. And here I don't use my fire arrows because I was busy somewhere else, but I did get a bunch of good shots in. One of my bow samurai get caught, but I run the other away. Again, I put my Yari Samurai, or my Yari Ashigaru in spear wall to stop the charge of these experienced units, and then I'm going to immediately run these Nodashi Samurai to the flanks. Now right there it said their general has fallen. My opponent did not protect his 8 chevron general, and so I slammed him with my Yari Cav, killed him, and now I'm hitting his men from behind. So his extremely experienced katana units are very tough, but check it out, they've got my Yari Cav right in the back. And then on the other flank, here's my Nodashi Samurai. I'm going to put these guys in Bonsai and charge them in any moment here. So here they go. So check it out, now they're in the Bonsai charge mode, and they're going to slam into the back of these Lone Sword Ashigaru. And now they're going to do what they do best, which is mix it up in melee combat. My opponent does get a hammer and anvil off. I tried to stop the charge of this Yari Cav because these dudes have a devastating charge because of their chevrons. So I did sacrifice one Nodashi Samurai unit to stop the charge of those Yari Cav, and I was successful in this. You can see that it cut them down. And here you can see that my Nodashi Samurai in the rear of these guys is just going to be too much for him to handle, and check it out, they rout. So we're talking about a 10-star general with an average of like 5 chevrons per unit, and just some simple, solid strategy here was able to defeat what was a very, very tough army and a very good opponent. So what were my opponent's mistakes here? He did not protect his general. Extreme mistake to not protect his general, because when you have a general with that many chevrons and you lose him, the morale blow to your army is severe. So here's the rest of that general's bodyguard fighting my Ashigaru spears, where they pretty much have no chance. And here is Patchy over here, who is already celebrating early on his victory. And there the enemy army goes into a full rout. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it laid out some strategy for you. As you can see here, my opponent very much outclassed me as far as time on the game and units, but I was still able to pull out a victory, and I hope you can see why. You have to use clever strategy. You have to play to your strengths. My strength was my archers. I used those archers to get some early pot shots and to draw my enemy in. I used my Yari Ashigaru, not because they're necessarily strong in melee, but to put up a spear wall to stop the enemy charge, to stop their momentum, slow them down, so that they can't just devastate me right off the bat. And then I used my Nodashi Samurai then to get into melee the way they were meant to be used. So I played my troops to every strength, and my opponent was drawn into parts where I gave several weaknesses. And like I said, he really should have protected his general. But anyway, good game to my opponent. Seemed like a good player, had cool troops, cool designs and everything. Hope you enjoyed these Shogun 2 online videos. I'll be making plenty more for you in the near future. I am having a problem playing online quite a bit though, because the game, like I said, is still pretty bugged. But I'll get them out for you as much as I can. So anyway, like I said, hope you enjoyed it. Arab Carthage signing off for now, and I will see you back soon.